just after watching the Indiana game, thought there's a lot of things positive, a few things we got to get cleaned up, especially when our twos got in there. Not only our twos, offense, defense, but we got in the twos with the special teams units. Saw multiple kickers, different personnel rolling through there, so it was really good. Offensively, we gave the MVP to James White. Had a great bye week, and then also last week in his preparation did a nice job coming off the bench. Defensively, Antonio Finellis is playing as good as any corner we've had since I've been here. Our special teams MVP we split between Nortman and Jared Abadaris. Brad Nortman just continues to amaze me, not only the long punts, but the pooches, all that good stuff. Defensive scout MVP was Frank Tamaclo, and offensive scout was Tyler Mertz, an offensive lineman who's a very good football player. Sunday we switched gears to Michigan State prep, and you know, obviously they were the last team to beat us in conference play a year ago at Spartan Stadium, so we have all those things that we have to embrace. I think the road, grass turf, a ranked team, college game day is going to be there, national TV exposure, but they're going to embrace the preparation this week, you know, with crowd noise and different things we'll throw at them on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday of this week to try and make Saturday an environment that they're going to feel comfortable and go out and execute. So excited about that, and I know that our kids have kind of taken every week the same approach. I know you don't see it, but during the course of the week, we prepared the same way to beat South Dakota as we did to beat Indiana, as we did to beat Nebraska. I like the guys' approach to what we're doing, and I expect that to carry forward this week. With that, open up for questions.
Brett, I know it's several days out from the game yet, but do you have any idea on what Buttram's status might be given his injury?
Yeah, it wasn't a high ankle, Jeff, so that was a good thing. Patrick first said to me on the bench Saturday, he said, "Coach, it's a good bad, or a bad good," however he phrased it, and he said basically, you know, he felt really tight on Sunday, but it was better today, and you know, I think got a goal in his mind to get out there, maybe run around a little bit Wednesday, and hopefully practice Thursday. And you know, I think Patrick, because of the amount of reps he's gotten, and just if he's so smart with a game plan, I would really feel good about him playing, even if he didn't really get any real time until Saturday itself.
I'm sure if you looked at tape of what Michigan State likes to do to opposing quarterbacks, they like to not only get after them, but it appears they really like to try to intimidate them physically and mentally. Russell has not taken many hits this year and appears to have a good presence in the pocket, but does he have that in his head on the swivel even more this week, given the way they attack?
Well, I like Michigan State's approach. I mean, to me, when I was a defensive coordinator, the one thing you can do is you can mentally or physically challenge a quarterback, and that's exactly what they're obviously doing on film, and some of them even kind of say it in the papers, you know. So it's awareness, it's out there. One of the good advantages of Russell is, you know, he doesn't really get overly rattled by anything that I've seen thrown at him, and you know, obviously Michigan State is a very aggressive defense. They bring pressure from everywhere, all over the field, and I do know this. I think our guys up front, our running backs, our tight ends, anybody that's called into action to protect Russell is going to probably do it to their highest capabilities this coming Saturday, because they know how important it is.
I'm wondering, do you like computers, and do you know what they have against you or your program?
If anybody ever saw my staff, know I don't type. I never learned how to type, so I'm not a real computer-friendly guy. The tweets that I send out takes me about 5 minutes to tweet them, which is why I don't tweet all that much. But the computers and the rankings and all that stuff, it's all going to sort itself through in the end. I really do believe in that. Last year, I began to take notice probably you know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks left in the regular season, just because, you know, unless you keep winning, it's immaterial anyway. So, you know, I know that someone pointed out that they didn't really love us, but my guess is if we keep winning and things begin to happen around us, everything takes care of itself.
Jeff, you mentioned Russell's poise, and obviously he's played professional baseball, he's played multiple sports. Would you expect that he will be overwhelmed in any way by what you guys are going to face today?
No, I think he appreciates the moment. I think he's excited. I know I got on the end of the headset at the end of the Nebraska game, and he was just talking about how much he loved to be in that environment, the big stage, and play as well as we had. This is when the game was in hand in the fourth quarter, and I think because of those experiences, Jeff, that's why you really don't expect to see him will he have his awareness? Absolutely. Will he have his head on a swivel? I would guess yes. Will he have his game plan down to the tightest execution possible? I would say yes.
When you have a player like that, whether it's in the offensive huddle or defensive huddle, is that contagious?
100%. I know we're really going to stress our guys. I talked about them yesterday during practice. I said, to me, there's three things you need to have on the road. You need to have, obviously great execution. Well, how are you going to get that? You're going to practice well during the course of the week. We have to have great communication. How are we going to make that difficult? We're going to play crowd noise as loud as you can play it in that environment. And the third thing you need to have is discipline. And we recruit discipline. That's something you really can't install in a week. You got to have discipline in your mentality and your framework, and that's what we recruit to. And those three things add together, hopefully, if they all three come through, will be a way to have success on Saturday.
Speaking of that discipline, do you worry about your players retaliating after watching with Michigan State and all the personal fouls? And do you think that Golston should be suspended for a game for that comment?
You know what? That's a great question. The suspensions and the talk of it, it's not in my hands. That's obviously something between Michigan State and the league office. But what we do have to work, and it'll be fun and enjoyable this week, much the same, if you guys remember when we played Arizona State 2 years ago, they had 13 penalties before us, and we have fun with it. We kind of embrace it. We don't run from it. So I give my offensive scout or my defensive scout team the liberty to kind of say whatever they want and push guys, within reason. I kind of explained this on Tuesday of last year, and apparently John Moffitt didn't get the message, so it was actually Marcus Trotter piped off, said something about his ancestry or something and Moffitt snapped and went after him, bent him over, and was ready to beat the snot out of him. He was like, hey, we told him to do this. So we're not going to maybe go to that extent, but I want guys to have the reaction that they need to have on Saturday, and unfortunately the only way you do that is to kind of practice it and rep it. But also, again, even in that little short reactionary second of time when something happens, our guys have to be aware, it's not what happens, it's how you react to what happens. I thought, Michigan, wasn't overly reactive on Saturday, but you can kind of channel that, and we'll do our talking with our pads, and we'll do it between the whistles.
Right. You mentioned a couple times now, even after the game, about emphasizing preparing for a road game. Is it just that stuff you just talked about, or is there more that you can do to emphasize and get it across your point?
No, I think that's it, Tom. Those 3 points are very, very important. When we're talking about discipline, now I'm talking about no pre-snap penalties, no unforced errors, keeping the ball, security-wise is going to be very, very important. We've obviously been great with ball security. Well, that needs to continue on the road. And then on the same account, defensively, if we got a chance to get our hands on the football, we have to come up with it. I thought, Michigan kind of kept themselves in the game with a couple critical turnovers there that they were able to get on the football because they had guys run into it.
Jesse? Going back to being on the road, at this stage of the season, the team has pretty much been at home all season except for a neutral site game. Is it tough to prepare for, get ready for a road game this late in the season? That's really the first true road game.
Well, it's going to be, whether this was the first game or the 7th game, obviously it's the 7th, but we did have kind of a warm-up there with Northern Illinois and practice crowd noise all that week. We've actually practiced crowd noise a couple other times during fall camp, and then also some of our road games our home games that we had here this week. So the big thing is it's the moment that we're in. We've got 7 days to hone in on it here, and I think our guys will really buy into it, and hopefully, what we have had is I had our offensive leaders and our defensive leaders talk to the young guys on Sunday about what they learned last year at Iowa. Another ranked opponent on the road, kind of the same situation where that momentum swing from sideline to sideline. We just tried to always get it back, and we capitalized on turnovers and took advantage of the ones that we had.
Jeff?
On the other side of the ball, I'm just curious what you think, whether their offense presents similar problems as it did a year ago when they ran the ball fairly effectively against you, and then on 3rd down, you guys weren't able to get off the field.
A lot of similarities. First off, the quarterback's making everything go. Michigan State offensively is very similar to us. It all starts with the quarterback. I think they have 3 really, really good running backs who they kind of just go with a hot hand, it seems like at times. That makes their play action game good because they have good wide receivers down the field. So I do see a lot of those same similarities. They're a little bit different this year offensively with some different things in the pistol and 2 back and 1 back and all that jazz. But it's a very good football team.
You said you'll let your pads do the talking, but based on some of the things that they said, did you have to warn your players about not getting in a war of words, or are they at the point where you don't even have to remind them there?
Yeah, I know there was a tweet early on from when Russell signed. You know, I kind of made a point of that during fall camp, so they're already aware of it. And I think I know some stuff popped up Saturday. Our guys are kind of in a mode. You know, I don't really worry about policing these guys. I think they know the difference between right and wrong. And I did make I pulled up some quotes on Sunday of guys that I always say don't give ammunition, don't give bulletin board material to our opponents. And I said, here's some quotes that jumped out to me, and it was somebody in here asking Jacob Pedersen what they thought of Monty Ball's pass, and he said, I felt like I was in a duck blind in Nelper Peninsula. And you know, he makes a joke and has fun with it. Travis Frederick said that he hoped it belonged on Sports Center. He was having fun with it. Monty Ball, James White, when someone was asking him if he, you know, played better and you know, than his last time, he goes, yeah, I look like a little league running back. I mean, he's self-defecating himself. That's what I want. That's what I want to recruit. I want kids that, you know, regardless we win or lose football games, if we're doing things the right way, people usually like that and like that approach.
Brett, this depth chart shows obviously a good way to market your program. I'm curious though, when you were coached about it, were you on board right from the start, or were you
What do you think?
reluctant? Were you reluctant?
Yeah, I was very reluctant. It was kind of funny because, you know, right away I said to Paul, I said, well, I know if 16 from a year ago was here, we wouldn't be doing it. Scotty didn't want to be thrown off in any way, shape, or form. The 16 we have now, of course, embraces it. And I said, Paul, why don't you check with the quarterbacks, see if they have any feelings. And you know, they were all kind of indifferent. Russell, of course, wanted to do it. Paul isn't exactly the most TV-friendly person on this earth either, so I gave him the option to get out of it. And he goes, Brett, reason why I want to do it was exposure. That's it. Thought it'd be a great way for us to have exposure. I ran it by our AD, and he kind of had the same feeling I did. And the more I talked to the people, and they said I could kind of have final say in what was allowed and not allowed. So that kind of gave me a little bit more of a insight to go ahead and do it. It was funny when I was talking to Russell, I said, you're okay with this, buddy? He goes, yeah. He goes, we were going to do it at Auburn too. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, because I knew about it when I was recruiting Russell, but of course I didn't say anything. But they had kind of used it as, hey, you come here and there's going to be this special on you. I had never used it. It was just kind of an interesting recruiting tactic, you know. So that's what it really came to light. And the thing that I really believe is going to come out of the show is they really did want to just concentrate on the quarterbacks, but then they meet Peter Kahns and they want to have an interview with him. They meet Aaron Henry and all these other guys. You know, that must be such, they need to fill time that they actually spend a day with me. I don't know how much that's going to hit the editing floor, but I think you're going to see a lot of things about our program come through that a lot of people don't have any idea about.
Is there any update on Nick Toon? And then a lot of players came out of the Michigan State game last year not happy with how they played. Is Nick one of those guys you think that wants to improve on that?
You know, I can't talk specifically for Nick, Tom. I would agree with you that there are a number of players that were not happy with their performance, including coaches, including myself, after that game. So I think you're going to see guys that have that as, not necessarily because we lost, just because we didn't play well, and take pride in the way that you put things on film. And then Nick, it's kind of a special day for him. He left this morning early. He flew out to see his dad get inducted in the Ring of Honor out in the Jets game tonight. Him and his whole family were making a trip out of it. So Nick's out there in New York. He'll be back first thing tomorrow. And he basically shared with me on Sunday. He came in how excited he was. He ran around on Sunday and felt real good. And he's going to jump into Tuesday's practice. So hopefully all move. He felt good on Saturday, and we probably could have played him. I really felt that our other guys repped during the week. I wanted to see how Duckworth was going to perform, Vanessa Garner, Kenzel Doe, Freddie Willis unfortunately got injured. I wanted to see those other guys perform, and they did very, very well.
I know you said before that the BCS standings, they'll work themselves out at the end of the season, but at this point, are you surprised at all to see Wisconsin behind a Boise State and Oklahoma State when in all the polls, Wisconsin is ahead of those teams?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I don't know what goes on in those rankings, but I had a feeling that, our non-con, when we scheduled Oregon State, I guess it was almost 10, 12 years ago, worked out these dates, but since that time they've been in a BCS game, so we thought there was going to be, obviously weren't playing great when we played them, but they've come back and played a little bit. Northern Illinois struggled a little bit, but now is back. They beat Western Michigan, who's leading their division, and then obviously anytime you schedule an FCS with South Dakota, Unfortunately, UNLV went through a coaching change, during the time, so I can't really do much about that out of conference scheduling. I know Boise State did they not beat Oregon, right? Did they beat Oregon? Georgia. All right. So again, it'll just kind of take. We got obviously Michigan State this week. I was happy to see them win last week because it kept them ranked. Then we got Ohio State, who maybe if they win this week might sneak into those rankings as well. Illinois down the road. So our day will come. Just focus on the moment and keep moving.
Especially from your experience back in your playing days, how powerful a motivating force is revenge or a chip on your shoulder, and is there an expiration date for how long you can carry that around?
I don't think the revenge thing, I know it's there. I would think it's more along the lines of what Tom said, that guys that didn't play well want to go out and prove that. To me, it's better for us to almost be able to go and prove ourselves better than we were a year ago, than maybe to have them here in our environment and have the revenge factor come into it. To me, the challenge, just how I'm wired and the way we've tried to kind of wire our kids is, now go prove that you're better. Anybody that played a certain way last year, let's go show what we can do better. And hopefully that's going to carry forward. And, bottom line, Michigan State's an excellent football team, and an opportunity to do that on the road is really special.
Your 2-minute offense has been really good at the end of halves. You haven't needed it at the end of the games yet. Does that give you confidence if you do need it? And what have you seen that you liked about it?
100%. Well, I began to see it once I saw Russell. I mean, he's just extremely composed. Paul has given him certain liberties out there on the field. I really, since I've taken over, that's one area that I love. I can practice that. One of the things I really love to do is we always have 2 minutes at the end of practice, 2 or 3 times during the course of the week, and every time it's a different scenario, and you got to figure out how to use a timeout, not to use a timeout, kill a clock, not to kill it. When we scored the other day, I knew we had 3 timeouts, and I said to the defensive guys, I go, hey, if they run the ball, I'm using these timeouts to give our offense. Plus, I wanted to run a punt return because I thought we might be able to get one of those. So, called a timeout after the first one, timeout after the second one, and then I thought I was going to have to burn the third one, but they tried to throw the ball, which stopped the clock, so our offense actually got one, which ended up being huge because we were able to stop it down there and had 3 or 4 legitimate shots at the end zone. Knew we wanted to get 3 points out of it, so I think that our offense is feeling comfortable enough. If we were ever having a problem with rhythm, that's something you might be able to throw in just in the normal part of the game to try and change the tempo of the game.
Right, everyone talks about Michigan State's defensive line, but it looks like under Narduzzi, they like to blitz.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, how often do they blitz, and do they blitz anywhere on the field? And are there any similarity between what you guys saw against Nebraska that might help this game?
I think schematically and personnel-wise, there's a lot of similarities that carry over to Nebraska. I think if you ask, pure breakdown sheet, there are some definite tendencies that we got to be aware of. Not only, Jeff, like you said, that they're blitzing, but where are they blitzing from? And again, there's certain offenses. The one thing about Wisconsin and our preparation, a lot of times we can't have good film to study what we do because we're a very unique animal. Even in our league, there's teams that run our type of offense, but not how we run our offense. And that's kind of my statement's been a lot of times to our offensive guys and our offensive players, fellas. Okay, they may have had to defend a 2-back power, but nobody runs it how you run it. And the run game that we have and the feature, they may have seen that exact same play from the exact same formation, but not with the guys we got. We're at a point now in our league where I think we have just as good a personnel as anybody that's out there. And that's not always been the case. And it's a good feeling, but it's also one that you have to walk that line just a little bit to make sure you carry that edge, but also understand that, hey, I am better than you. Let's go out and prove it. That's fun.
How do you think Jordan Cahoot's playing? And sometimes guys lose their starting job. That can be difficult. Obviously, he's still playing a lot, but how do you think he's handled that whole?
You know what, Tom? He percentage-wise graded out as good as anybody between him, Hemer, and Patrick before he got hurt. So if Pat can't go on Saturday, it'll be Heem and Jordan. Bo Allen's doing very well as well. So I think that's the greatest thing that we got going right now defensively is our depth up front. Without a question, that's made the biggest difference in the 4-quarter games we've been in.
Right back to your comment about your personnel rising up and matching anyone else in the league. Did you feel that way last year? Was it something you saw coming last year, or is this the first year you can look at film and say, yeah, we're there?
A little bit of both. I mean, last year I began to see us play in a way that, we're playing pretty efficiently. And I shouldn't say better personnel as much, Jeff, as what we do. You know, there's obviously a lot of good football players in this league, but across the board, that's the part I think that probably attracted Russell more than anything is. And what he's enjoying now is he's got a great offensive line. He's got running backs. He's got wide receivers and tight ends. That's fun. You know, no one can focus in on one thing, and that balance is really, you know, really paid off for us at this point.
Coach, we've selected a fan question submitted on Facebook.
Nice.
Today's question comes
Facebook.
from Casey Ward, and he wants to know, with Russell Wilson being his first time in the Big Ten and is not having a history with any of the teams that we're playing, does that affect his preparation in a game like Michigan State? Can he be more effective with less emotion, maybe, and more technique?
You know, that's kind of tying into the question that was over here. To me, there's no history on Russell in our league. Guys can go back and watch NC State film, but it really wouldn't have done him a lot of good because he's such a different player right now. But on the same account, you know, one of the things I hit Russell up on Sunday, I said, buddy, now these guys, they play hard. This is big boy football, you know, and you know, just make him aware because you're doing him an injustice if you don't realize what's coming at him. Now, after he watched a couple of games on film, I think he realized what was coming, and I can see the smile in him, just that he's excited to play it. So it's a little bit of probably it helps and it doesn't help a little bit at times. Everything's new to him. He's just enjoying the moment. Another computer question. Maybe that'll help us.
Anything else for Coach? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.